After watching this match, if you still aren't a Morocco fan, then honestly something's wrong. Before the game, Achraf Hakimi said that Morocco are called the Brazilians of Africa because of the way they play football. Smooth, technical, stylish. And after watching this performance, I almost feel like you could call Brazil the Morocco of South America instead. Okay, maybe not fully, but seriously, what a footballing display from Morocco. Brahim Diaz out there looking untouchable the entire game. The guy was moving like Lionel Messi at times. Hakimi? Absolutely unreal. I'm not even joking anymore. This guy is ridiculously good. Watching Morocco play honestly reminded me of a top-level club side. Their movement, their midfield rotations, the way they controlled possession, it genuinely looked elite. And Ayoub Boadi? What a performance. An 18-year-old completely dominating the midfield on a stage like this. Brazil literally had to take Casemiro off. Imagine that. Casemiro was supposed to bring veteran leadership to this team, and instead Morocco's midfield completely overran him. Bilal El Khanous was everywhere. Chadi Riyad looked outstanding defensively. Honestly, this Morocco team brought the football fan back out of me. But at the same time, didn't we all expect more from Brazil? Because Brazil disappointed badly here. Really badly. And I'll start with the simplest conclusion possible. Bring Neymar Jr. back. Seriously. Brazil need Neymar Jr. Enough with the camera shots of him supporting the team from the stands, taking pictures with fans, and motivating players before kickoff. That's not why he's at the World Cup. Brazil need him fit and on the pitch. Brazil need him fit and on the pitch. Because after watching this game, one thing became very clear. This Brazil side cannot seriously compete to win the World Cup without Neymar Jr. That doesn't mean they can't beat smaller teams. They'll probably still beat Haiti or Scotland, they might even score a bunch of goals in those matches, and everyone will celebrate again. But this was the real test. This match showed exactly where Brazil currently stand. And honestly, right now they do not look like a World Cup winning team. The fullbacks looked weak all game. Both sides struggled badly. Danilo didn't look convincing, Douglas Santos had a rough game, and overall, the chemistry across the team just felt off. And when you think about Brazil's history at fullback, Dani Alves, Marcelo, all those legendary names, the drop-off feels massive. Thankfully, Vinicius Jr. scored, because outside of the goal and some pressing work, even he struggled to make a major impact on the match. Rafinha spent the entire game running non-stop. Honestly, it felt like all he did was chase players and sprint after the ball for 90 minutes. Morocco's midfield had Brazil running everywhere. No joke, they completely controlled the tempo. And watching all of this, you honestly start asking yourself, where exactly is this Brazil team heading? What makes it even more interesting is the tactical gamble Carlo Ancelotti took. He went with Igor Thiago, Vinicius Jr. and Rafinha as the front three with Lucas Paqueta, Casemiro and Bruno Guimaraes in midfield. Now before the game, most people expected Brazil to physically overpower Morocco or at least try to dominate them athletically. But the problem is Morocco are way too technical for that. Their midfielders are extremely comfortable on the ball, and you can't simply bully them physically. And even if you somehow manage to lock down the midfield for a few moments, then players like Neymar Jr. start becoming a huge problem. Honestly, Mazraoui was probably the hidden key to the entire match for me. Now, one really interesting thing in this game was how Brazil initially lined up. At the start, Rafinha was playing on the left side, Lucas Paqueta was positioned more toward the right, and then you had Vinicius Jr. and Igor Thiago further forward. So naturally, people looked at that setup and thought, okay, Vinicius isn't really staying wide on the left here. And that makes sense because Rafinha likes freedom in his movement. Under Carlo Ancelotti, you expect attacking players to get that kind of flexibility. But the moment Neymar Jr. started drifting into midfield for Morocco, everything changed. And I'm not talking about simple passing combinations either. Mazraoui was driving through the middle aggressively, carrying the ball forward, breaking lines, linking up with Brahim Diaz, and constantly forcing Brazil to react. You could literally see Brazil panicking tactically. That's why Ancelotti suddenly shifted Rafinha back over to the right side and moved Paqueta toward the left. Now this wasn't some genius attacking adjustment from Brazil, it was defensive damage control. Because normally Rafinha doesn't even play that role for Brazil. He's far more comfortable drifting centrally or operating from the left. But Mazraoui was becoming such a huge threat inside that Brazil basically had to reposition Rafinha just to help deal with him. That tells you everything about how this match went. Brazil spent the entire game reacting instead of controlling. They weren't proactive. They weren't imposing themselves. Every few minutes it felt like they were making another adjustment, just trying to survive what Morocco were doing. Casemiro started struggling physically, so they brought on Fabinho. But honestly, these emergency changes aren't how you win a World Cup. You can talk about passion, dreams, history, and Brazilian football culture all you want, but performances like this are not enough to win a major tournament. And honestly, both Vinicius Jr. and Rafinha looked disappointing overall outside of their work rate. To be fair, they were running non-stop. Igor Thiago worked incredibly hard too. Nobody can question the effort. But the biggest issue I noticed with Brazil was the midfield structure. Who actually controls possession in this team? Who slows the game down when needed? Who dictates tempo? Is it Bruno Guimaraes? Honestly, not really. Is it Casemiro? Definitely not at this stage. That's the biggest concern this game created for me. And what makes it even more confusing is Brazil already have a possible solution sitting there in the squad. After Wesley got injured, Brazil decided not to replace him with another fullback. Instead, they brought in Ederson from Atalanta, who has already secured his move to Manchester United. And honestly, he looks like exactly the kind of midfielder this team needs. Good on the ball, energetic off the ball, technically clean, comfortable under pressure. So why isn't he getting more minutes? Because if Brazil genuinely believe they can win the World Cup with this current version of Casemiro starting every major game, I honestly have serious doubts. Against a younger, quicker, and more aggressive midfield like Morocco's, Casemiro just didn't look sharp enough. He looked late to challenges, slow in transitions, and at times he genuinely seemed like he was chasing shadows. And I hate even saying that because of everything he's achieved in football. Maybe he improves later in the tournament. Maybe there are other factors involved that we don't know about. But in this match specifically, Brazil's midfield got completely dominated. Neil El Ainaoui and Ayub Buadi absolutely controlled the center of the pitch. They were running the game. And when Brazil started struggling badly, they looked toward the bench for answers. Because the moment Igor Thiago stopped influencing the game and Vinicius kept receiving the ball without proper support around him, the attack completely disconnected from the midfield. There was basically no real link between Brazil's midfield and attack all game long. That's why Matheus Cunha eventually came on. And to be fair to him, he actually did all right. He won corners, created a few moments, took some shots, and tried to drive forward from wider areas. But Brazil still lacked that smooth central connector, that technical player constantly moving between the lines and linking everything together. The exact type of role Azzedine Ounahi was performing brilliantly for Morocco. And that's what made Morocco so difficult to press. Even if you tried closing down their midfielders, their fullbacks would simply step into midfield themselves. Their center backs were calmly breaking pressure with passes through the lines the entire game. Honestly, at times it was embarrassing for Brazil, because this Brazil team simply does not have that midfield to attack connection right now. And after watching this match, it honestly feels even clearer that Neymar Jr. is the one player they're desperately missing. Brazil clearly need Neymar Jr. At this point, there's no avoiding that conversation anymore. Now, whether Brazil actually plan to use him properly or just keep him around for PR, ticket sales, and camera moments, that's a completely different question. Because Neymar missed the first game, and maybe the idea is that he returns in the second match. I don't know, but one thing is obvious: he is nowhere near fully fit. You can see it clearly. Neymar is going to have to play through injury in this tournament, and honestly, Brazil probably need him to do it, because right now they simply don't have another solution. Honestly, after this game, they looked more like the real Brazil on the pitch than Brazil themselves. Anyway, if you enjoyed this kind of football content, make sure to like and subscribe. More World Cup videos are coming very soon. I'll see you guys in the next one.